There are actions that leave no trace in the world. No witness remembers them, no story carries them forward, and no reward follows them immediately. They vanish the moment they are done, as if they never existed at all. Yet Ibn Arabi reminds us that what disappears from the eyes of creation does not disappear from reality. Some deeds are not meant to be seen because sight would change them. The moment they are noticed, their weight shifts, the intention bends, the heart adjusts. So Allah allows them to pass quietly, untouched by recognition, preserved in their purest form. These are not small deeds, they are precise ones. We enter the space where value is measured without visibility, and where what matters most is what never needed to be known. Lesson 1: Secrecy preserves the true shape of intention. A deed that is done in complete secrecy begins its life in a very different state from one that is witnessed. At the moment it is born, it carries only one direction, toward Allah. There is no audience to impress, no reaction to anticipate, and no image to maintain. Because of this, the deed remains exactly as it was intended, without adjustment or interference. Its form is simple, direct, and unaltered. The moment a deed becomes visible, something subtle begins to happen inside the heart. Even when a person believes they are acting purely, awareness of being seen introduces a second layer of thought. The heart starts to notice how the action might appear, how it could be interpreted, or what response it might bring. This does not always happen consciously. Often it is so quiet that it feels harmless. Yet even this small shift begins to reshape intention. Secrecy protects the deed from this reshaping. When no one knows, the heart does not need to manage perception. It does not need to adjust tone, effort, or expression. There is no reason to enhance the action or to soften it. The deed remains honest because there is no benefit in altering it. This honesty is rare because most actions in life are shaped by response, even when we do not realize it. Intention is fragile. It is not fixed or permanent. It changes easily under pressure, praise, or expectation. A hidden deed removes all of these forces at once. Without pressure, intention does not tense. Without praise, it does not inflate. Without expectation, it does not perform. The deed stays close to its origin, untouched by anything external. Many people assume that intention is something you decide once and then keep. In reality, intention is something you must protect continuously. Every glance, every reaction, and every acknowledgement has the power to influence it. Secrecy acts like a barrier that shields intention from this influence. It creates a space where intention can remain stable from beginning to end. Another important aspect of secrecy is that it removes negotiation. When a deed is visible, the heart may begin to negotiate internally. It might ask whether the action was enough, whether it should have been done differently, or whether it will be recognized. These questions pull the heart away from sincerity and toward outcome. A secret deed leaves no room for negotiation. It is done, and it is finished. The heart moves on without calculation. This lack of negotiation also removes regret that is tied to perception. When a deed is seen, the heart may later wonder how it was received. It may replay moments, re-evaluate words, or wish it had acted differently. With a hidden deed, there is nothing to revisit. No one's opinion exists to haunt the heart. This allows the heart to remain at ease, not because the deed was perfect, but because it was untouched. Secrecy also preserves scale. When deeds are visible, the heart may begin to think in terms of size and impact. It may compare actions, wondering which ones matter more or carry more weight. A hidden deed has no scale. It is not large or small in the eyes of people because no eyes are present. This frees the heart from measuring value through magnitude and returns it to meaning. A deed done in secret does not need to justify itself. It does not need to prove usefulness or importance. It exists simply because the heart chose alignment in that moment. This simplicity is powerful. It trains the heart to act because something is right, not because it will be acknowledged. Secrecy teaches the heart discipline. It learns that goodness does not need to be displayed to be real. It learns that value does not depend on recognition. This discipline strengthens sincerity because the heart becomes accustomed to acting without reinforcement. What the heart practices regularly begins to shape it permanently. Secrecy also removes the temptation to polish the deed. When something is seen, the heart may unconsciously try to improve how it looks. It may add effort, emotion, or expression to enhance its appearance. A secret deed cannot be polished for others. It can only be offered as it is. This rawness keeps the deed honest. Another effect of secrecy is that it removes self-awareness at the moment of action. The heart is not watching itself. It is simply acting. This absence of self-observation allows sincerity to flow naturally. The heart is not busy monitoring its own goodness. It is focused only on alignment. This focus is what preserves the true shape of intention. Intention remains singular rather than divided. It does not split between Allah and people, between meaning and image, or between truth and outcome. It remains whole. Wholeness is what gives a deed weight, even when it is unseen. A hidden deed also protects the heart from pride that can arise later. When a deed is known, memory can replay it, and pride can grow quietly over time. The heart may return to the deed repeatedly, using it as proof of its own worth. A secret deed leaves nothing to revisit. It fades from memory more easily, preventing the heart from building an identity around it. This fading is not lost. It is protection. The heart does not carry the burden of its own goodness. It does not need to remember what it has done. This lightness keeps the heart humble and open. Secrecy also changes how the heart understands success. Success is no longer tied to visibility or impact. It becomes tied to alignment and honesty. The heart learns that a deed does not need to be known to be complete. Completion happens at the moment of sincerity, not at the moment of recognition. A heart that practices secrecy begins to move differently. It acts more quietly, more deliberately, and with less concern for how actions will be perceived. This does not make the heart indifferent to others. It makes it less dependent on them. Dependence weakens intention. Independence strengthens it. Secrecy does not mean hiding out of fear or avoidance. It means choosing privacy to preserve truth. There is a difference. Fear hides because it wants to avoid judgment. Secrecy protects because it wants to remain honest. This distinction is important. The heart must recognize why it chooses secrecy. When secrecy is chosen to protect intention, it becomes an act of wisdom. The heart understands its own vulnerability and responds by creating space where sincerity can survive. This awareness is a sign of maturity. A deed done in secret may feel small, but its effect is deep. It trains the heart to value truth over appearance. It builds an inner stability that does not rely on response. It shapes the heart quietly, without announcing itself. What is preserved in secrecy is not only the deed, but the heart itself. The heart remains clear, undistorted, and aligned. This alignment is what Allah values, because it cannot be faked, inflated, or borrowed. When intention remains intact, everything that follows becomes lighter. The heart is not burdened by expectation. It is not pulled by recognition. It moves freely, guided by alignment rather than outcome. This is why secrecy preserves the true shape of intention. It keeps the deed whole, the heart honest, and the direction clear. What begins purely remains purely because nothing was allowed to interfere. Lesson 2. What is hidden is free from comparison. Comparison is born the moment something becomes visible. As soon as an action is seen, it is placed beside other actions, measured against other efforts, and ranked consciously or unconsciously. Even if no one speaks, the scale is already active. The heart senses it. It begins to wonder where it stands, how it appears, and whether it was enough. This process is automatic in the world of visibility, and it quietly reshapes the inner state of the one acting. A deed that remains hidden never enters this system. It is not placed beside anything else. It is not weighed, ranked, or evaluated. Because of this, it stays free. Freedom here does not mean insignificance. It means absence of distortion. The deed is not pressured to compete or prove itself. It exists without needing context, comparison, or validation. When comparison is absent, the heart acts differently. It does not calculate effort based on what others are doing. It does not reduce sincerity because someone else seems more capable, nor does it inflate itself because someone else appears weaker. The heart simply responds to what is required of it in that moment. This response is cleaner because it is not filtered through hierarchy. Comparison subtly changes motivation. When deeds are visible, the heart may push itself harder than necessary to appear devoted or hold back to avoid standing out. Both reactions move the heart away from sincerity. The hidden deed removes this tension entirely. There is no crowd to adjust to, no standard to match, and no rank to protect. The heart is allowed to be honest without fear of being less or more than someone else. This freedom from comparison also protects the heart from discouragement. Many hearts stop doing good not because they lack sincerity, but because comparison drains them. Seeing others appear more consistent, more knowledgeable, or more impactful can make a person feel small. A hidden deed does not face this pressure. It does not compete with an image of excellence. It only answers to alignment. Likewise, freedom from comparison protects the heart from arrogance. When deeds are known, the heart may quietly compare itself upward or downward. Even subtle satisfaction can creep in. The hidden deed offers no such opportunity. There is no one to feel above or below. The heart remains level, not because it is humble by effort, but because comparison never entered. Comparison also fragments intention. The heart may begin with sincerity, but once comparison appears, intention splits. One part remains directed toward Allah, while another begins to watch others. This split weakens focus. A hidden deed avoids this entirely. Intention stays singular. The heart does not look sideways. It remains facing one direction. When comparison is removed, the heart learns to value alignment over outcome. It stops asking whether the deed was impressive and starts recognizing whether it was honest. This shift changes how the heart understands worth. Worth is no longer external. It becomes internal and stable. Freedom from comparison also brings peace. The heart is not restless, wondering how it measures up. It is not anxious about being overlooked or outperformed. This peace allows consistency. The heart continues acting because it is not discouraged or inflated by others. It moves at its own rhythm. Another important effect of hidden deeds is that they remove urgency created by competition. Visibility often creates pressure to do more, faster, or better than others. This pressure can exhaust the heart and turn sincerity into strain. Hidden deeds unfold without urgency. The heart acts when it is able, not when it feels pressured. Comparison also shapes memory. Visible deeds are often remembered in relation to others. The heart recalls how it appeared, how it was received, and how it stood among people. Hidden deeds fade more gently. They do not anchor themselves in memory through contrast. This fading keeps the heart light and forward-facing. Freedom from comparison also refines gratitude. The heart is not distracted by what others have or do. It remains focused on its own capacity and responsibility. Gratitude becomes quieter but deeper because it is not mixed with envy or self-satisfaction. When the heart is not comparing, it becomes more attentive to its own state. It notices sincerity more clearly. It senses resistance more honestly. This awareness supports growth, because the heart is not borrowing confidence or doubt from others. It is learning directly from its own movement. Hidden deeds also allow the heart to act appropriately rather than impressively. Sometimes the right action is small, unnoticed, and simple. Visibility can push the heart toward larger gestures that look better but may not be necessary. Secrecy allows the heart to choose precision over display. Comparison often distorts perception of value. What is seen frequently feels important. What is unseen feels minor. A hidden deed corrects this distortion internally. The heart learns that value is not determined by frequency of recognition. It is determined by alignment at the moment of action. Freedom from comparison also deepens trust. The heart trusts that Allah sees without needing evidence from people. This trust stabilizes faith because it is no longer dependent on social feedback. The heart does not need confirmation to continue. Another quiet benefit of hidden deeds is that they protect relationships. Comparison often introduces competition, even unintentionally. Secrecy removes rivalry. The heart is not measuring itself against those it cares about. This keeps intention clean and relationships sincere. A heart that acts without comparison becomes less reactive. It does not fluctuate with praise or neglect. It does not rush to match others or withdraw because of them. It remains steady because its reference point is internal. This steadiness allows the heart to mature without distortion. Growth happens naturally, not as a reaction to others. The heart learns at its own pace, guided by alignment rather than pressure. When comparison is absent, the heart becomes more generous. It does not withhold goodness out of fear of being overshadowed. It does not give competition. It gives because alignment calls for it. What is hidden remains free because it is untouched by the measuring systems of the world. This freedom preserves sincerity, protects peace, and stabilizes intention. It allows the heart to act without weight, without rivalry, and without fear. This is why Allah values what is hidden, not because it is invisible, but because it is undistorted. What remains free from comparison remains true. Lesson 3. The unseen deed belongs entirely to Allah. When a deed is known, it is never held by one presence alone. The moment others become aware of it, the deed enters shared space. Reactions form around it. Interpretations attach themselves. Meanings are assigned that may have nothing to do with why the action was done in the first place. Even silence from others still creates awareness, and awareness creates division. The deed is no longer singular. A deed that remains unseen never enters this division. It does not circulate. It is not interpreted, praised, questioned, or misunderstood. It remains whole. Because of this, it belongs entirely to Allah, not symbolically, but in reality. No portion of it is absorbed by human response. Nothing of it is redirected toward creation. This exclusivity changes the nature of the deed itself. When an action is shared, even unintentionally, part of its weight shifts outward. The heart becomes aware that something has been placed into the world of people. That awareness alters how the deed lives inside the heart afterward. It becomes something remembered, something referenced, something that exists beyond the moment it was done. An unseen deed does not linger in this way. Once it is completed, it dissolves from the outer mind. It does not remain as a personal achievement or a memory to return to. This allows the heart to stay light. It does not carry its goodness forward as proof of itself. It leaves the deed where it belongs, in the unseen. Belonging entirely to Allah also means the deed is not shaped by human limitation. People measure through their own lenses. They misunderstand motives, exaggerate outcomes, or reduce meaning. A hidden deed bypasses all of this. It is received without distortion, without commentary, and without reduction. It is not translated into language or judgment. It is taken as it is. This direct offering creates a different kind of closeness. The deed was never offered outwardly and then redirected inward. It was placed inwardly from the beginning. This matters because direction determines depth. What is offered first to people must later be purified. What is offered only to Allah does not require purification. When a deed belongs entirely to Allah, the heart does not wait for response. It does not check whether something was accepted or appreciated. It does not look for confirmation. This absence of waiting is important. Waiting ties the heart to outcome. Letting go returns the heart to alignment. Another effect of exclusivity is that the deed does not become identity. When deeds are known, the heart may begin to associate itself with what it has done. It may quietly think of itself through those actions. A hidden deed does not allow this. The heart does not build a story around it. The deed remains an act, not a label. This protects the heart from subtle attachment. Attachment to goodness can be just as distorting as attachment to failure. When a deed belongs entirely to Allah, the heart is not tempted to hold on to it. It moves forward unburdened, not because it dismisses goodness, but because it does not cling to it. Exclusivity also removes the risk of misplacement. Sometimes a deed is done sincerely, but once known, it begins to serve a different role. It may begin to influence reputation, authority, or expectation. The deed is quietly repurposed. A hidden deed cannot be repurposed. It has no function beyond what it was intended for. This allows the heart to act more precisely. When the heart knows that the deed will not be seen, it chooses what is necessary rather than what is impressive. It acts according to alignment rather than effect. This precision is valued because it reflects awareness rather than performance. Belonging entirely to Allah also means the deed does not compete for space in the world. It does not add to noise. It does not demand attention. It rests where it was placed. This stillness gives it weight. What is not competing is not diluted. Another quiet transformation happens here. The heart becomes less concerned with how goodness is perceived in general. It stops tracking narratives of right and wrong as they appear among people. It becomes more attentive to inner responsibility. This attentiveness deepens sincerity because it is not influenced by shifting opinions. When a deed is unseen, it also cannot be used against the heart. There is no expectation created, no standard imposed. The heart is not held to an image it must maintain. This freedom allows continuity. The heart can continue acting sincerely without being trapped by past actions. Belonging entirely to Allah also removes fear of inconsistency. When deeds are known, the heart may worry about living up to what has been seen. This worry creates tension. A hidden deed leaves no such pressure. The heart is free to change, grow, or struggle without betraying an image. This freedom encourages honesty. The heart does not need to hide weakness to protect the memory of goodness. It does not need to balance appearances. It simply continues its movement inward, guided by alignment rather than reputation. Another important aspect of exclusivity is that it protects timing. Some deeds are not meant to produce immediate effect. When seen, people may expect results or continuation. A hidden deed is not bound by expectation. Its effect unfolds where and when it is meant to, without interference. Belonging entirely to Allah also means the deed is not lost if forgotten. Human memory fades, but what is placed in the unseen does not depend on recollection. The heart may forget what it did, but forgetting does not erase impact. In fact, forgetting can preserve humility. This teaches the heart that permanence is not found in remembrance, but in alignment. What lasts is not what is remembered, but what was placed correctly. This understanding changes how the heart values its actions. A hidden deed does not ask to be remembered. It does not ask to be repeated. It does not ask to be validated. It exists fully without any of these. This completeness is rare, and it is why such deeds carry a different weight. The heart learns to prefer this kind of offering. It feels cleaner, it feels lighter, it feels less entangled. The heart senses that it is safer to place goodness where it will not be altered. When a deed belongs entirely to Allah, the heart is relieved of ownership. It does not claim credit. It does not manage outcomes. It simply acts and releases. This release creates space for the next moment of alignment to appear naturally. This is not withdrawal from the world. It is precision within it. The heart chooses where to place its actions so that they remain true. What is unseen is not smaller, it is simply undivided, and what is undivided remains intact. Lesson 4: Secrecy removes the fear of being misunderstood. One of the quiet burdens the heart carries is the fear of being misread. Even sincere actions can become heavy when the heart imagines how they might be interpreted. People attach meanings that were never intended. They question motives, reduce complexity, or project their own assumptions. This possibility alone is enough to restrain many hearts from acting freely. Secrecy dissolves this burden at its root. When no one knows, misunderstanding has nowhere to attach itself. There is no narrative to correct, no explanation to offer, and no defense to prepare. The heart is spared the task of managing perception. It is allowed to act without rehearsal, without justification, and without anticipating reaction. Fear of misunderstanding often shapes action before it even begins. The heart may hesitate, modify its behavior, or avoid certain deeds entirely because it anticipates judgment. This anticipation narrows sincerity. The heart begins choosing what is safest rather than what is true. Secrecy removes this narrowing. Without witnesses, the heart does not need to protect itself from interpretation. It can move according to alignment alone. When a deed is hidden, it is not required to make sense to anyone else. It does not need to be reasonable, impressive, or understandable. It only needs to be honest. This is liberating, because many of the most sincere movements of the heart cannot be explained easily. They are precise responses to inner awareness, not actions designed for public logic. Misunderstanding also creates fragmentation. When a deed is seen, the heart may later replay conversations or imagine alternate readings of what was done. This replay keeps the heart tethered to the past. A hidden deed does not generate this mental residue. Once done, it is finished. The heart is not pulled backward to manage how it landed. Another subtle effect of secrecy is that it removes self-censorship. When actions are visible, the heart may censor itself, holding back parts that feel too vulnerable, too complex, or too personal. Secrecy allows the heart to act fully. It does not need to simplify itself for others. This fullness preserves sincerity. Fear of being misunderstood often leads to over-explaining. The heart may feel compelled to clarify, justify, or add context to protect itself. Over time, this habit drains energy and shifts focus away from alignment. A hidden deed requires no clarification. Silence completes it. This silence is not avoidance, it is confidence in placement. Secrecy also protects the heart from disappointment. When actions are visible, misunderstanding can hurt. Even good intentions can be met with suspicion or indifference. These responses can wound the heart and discourage future sincerity. A hidden deed bypasses this entirely. There is no external response to react to. The heart remains intact. Another important transformation occurs here. The heart learns to trust its own alignment without external confirmation. It does not wait to see if others approve to feel at peace. It does not need reassurance that it acted correctly. This trust strengthens inner stability. The heart becomes less dependent on feedback to remain grounded. Misunderstanding often arises because people see actions through their own experiences and limitations. A hidden deed avoids being filtered through these lenses. It remains unaltered by human projection. This preservation matters because projection can quietly distort meaning and leave the heart feeling unseen or misjudged. When secrecy removes fear of misunderstanding, the heart becomes more precise. It acts when necessary and remains still when not. It does not act to be clear to others. It acts to be true within itself. This precision refines sincerity over time. Another subtle benefit is that secrecy removes resentment. When actions are misunderstood, resentment can build quietly. The heart may feel unappreciated or misrepresented. These feelings contaminate sincerity. A hidden deed does not generate resentment because there is no exchange. The heart is not injured by response. Secrecy also allows the heart to remain soft. Fear of misunderstanding can harden the heart, making it guarded or defensive. Acting without fear keeps the heart open. It does not need to protect itself. It does not brace for reaction. This openness allows sincerity to flow more easily. When the heart is free from fear of being misunderstood, it becomes more courageous. It does not need to wait for perfect conditions or clarity of outcome. It responds when alignment calls for it. This responsiveness is quiet but strong. Another important shift happens in intention. The heart stops asking, "How will this be seen?" and starts asking, "Is this true?" This question simplifies decision-making. It removes layers of doubt and hesitation. The heart moves forward with less friction. Secrecy also changes how the heart relates to silence. Silence is no longer something to fill with explanation. It becomes a completion. The heart understands that not everything needs to be spoken and not every action needs to be narrated. This understanding deepens wisdom. Fear of misunderstanding often keeps the heart tied to others' awareness. Secrecy unties this knot. The heart acts without checking whether it will be understood. It accepts that understanding is not always necessary for alignment. This does not mean the heart becomes indifferent to others. It means it stops depending on being correctly perceived to act sincerely. Compassion remains, but dependence dissolves. When secrecy removes fear of misunderstanding, the heart feels lighter. It does not carry unfinished conversations or imagined judgments. It remains present rather than reactive. This presence strengthens trust in Allah because the heart places its actions where understanding is complete. Secrecy allows the heart to act without defense. What is done does not need to be protected, corrected, or explained. It simply exists where it was placed. This simplicity preserves sincerity and protects peace. When the heart no longer fears being misunderstood, it is free to act truthfully. And truth, when unburdened by explanation, carries its own clarity. Lesson 5. The hidden deed trains the heart to act without reward. Most actions in the world are followed by something. A response, a reaction, a sign that the effort was noticed. Even silence can feel like a response. Over time, the heart becomes accustomed to this exchange. It gives, then waits. It helps, then looks back. It acts, then listens for proof that the action mattered. This habit forms quietly, without intention, until reward becomes an expectation rather than a gift. A deed done in secret interrupts this pattern completely. There is no return signal, no acknowledgement arrives, no emotional reinforcement follows. The heart gives and receives nothing back in the visible sense. At first, this can feel unsettling. The heart may instinctively wait, almost unconsciously, for something to happen. When nothing does, a deeper process begins. This absence reveals how accustomed the heart has become to being answered. It shows how often motivation is sustained by response rather than alignment. The hidden deed exposes this dependency gently but clearly. Without reward, the heart must decide whether it will still act. This decision is not theoretical, it is felt directly. Acting without reward strips the deed of all external fuel. What remains is intention alone. The heart discovers whether sincerity can stand on its own weight. This discovery is uncomfortable at first, because reward has been quietly carrying part of the effort all along. When reward disappears, the heart feels the full cost of sincerity. This cost is not punishment, it is honesty. The heart is learning what truly moves it. If action stops when reward is removed, the heart learns something important. If action continues, the heart learns something even deeper. Either way, clarity is gained. The hidden deed trains the heart to give without bargaining. There is no internal agreement that says, "I will do this if something comes back to me." The heart acts without clauses. This removes negotiation from sincerity. Negotiation weakens intention because it divides focus between action and outcome. Secrecy collapses this division. Without reward, the heart also stops performing goodness for itself. There is no inner applause, no emotional satisfaction guaranteed. The heart cannot rely on feeling good about itself to justify the action. This removes subtle self-congratulation that often follows visible deeds. This training reshapes patience. When reward is absent, patience becomes internal rather than situational. The heart is no longer waiting for something to happen outside of itself. It is learning to remain steady without confirmation. This steadiness is difficult, but it is durable. Another quiet transformation occurs here. The heart becomes less transactional. It stops relating to goodness as an exchange. It does not ask what it will gain, how it will be seen, or whether the effort was worth it. Worth is no longer calculated after the deed. It is assumed at the moment of alignment. The absence of reward also refines trust. The heart places its action where return is unseen. It trusts that what was done is not lost simply because it was not answered. This trust does not rely on promise or reassurance, it rests in placement. The heart believes that where it placed the deed matters more than how it feels afterward. This belief stabilizes motivation. Motivation that depends on reward fluctuates. Motivation that depends on alignment endures. The heart learns to act consistently, not intensely. It does not burn out from lack of response, because response was never its fuel. Acting without reward also simplifies the inner world. The heart is not distracted by expectation. It is not replaying the action to see if it worked. It moves forward cleanly. This simplicity frees attention for the next moment of alignment. Another effect of hidden deeds is that they teach heart restraint. When no reward arrives, the heart is tempted to speak, reveal, or hint at what it has done. Resisting this temptation strengthens discipline. The heart learns to contain goodness without needing to release it through acknowledgement. This containment builds inner strength. The heart becomes capable of holding sincerity quietly. It does not leak intention through explanation or display. This capacity changes how the heart carries responsibility. It becomes more composed and less reactive. Acting without reward also corrects distorted expectations of fairness. The heart learns that not every good act is followed by ease, recognition, or relief. This understanding prevents disappointment from hardening into bitterness. The heart becomes realistic without becoming cynical. Another subtle benefit is that the heart becomes less dependent on timing. Reward often arrives unpredictably. Waiting for it creates anxiety. A hidden deed removes this weight entirely. The heart is not checking for outcomes. It remains present. This presence allows the heart to act again without hesitation. It does not slow itself down with doubt about whether the last action was worth it. It does not seek closure. It simply continues responding to alignment. Acting without reward also protects sincerity over time. When reward becomes expected, disappointment can erode motivation. Secrecy avoids this erosion. The heart is not injured by lack of response, because response was never anticipated. Another important transformation occurs in humility. Without reward, the heart does not inflate. It does not feel entitled to anything. This humility is not forced. It is natural. The heart simply recognizes that action does not place others in its debt. This recognition deepens compassion. The heart gives without keeping score. It does not remember who benefited or how much effort was spent. This forgetfulness is not carelessness. It is freedom. The heart trained by hidden deeds becomes quieter. It does not announce its goodness. It does not wait to be seen. It becomes comfortable acting in obscurity. This comfort allows sincerity to become stable rather than occasional. Acting without reward also changes how the heart experiences disappointment. Disappointment loses its grip because expectation has been removed. The heart is less shocked when nothing returns. It remains steady. This steadiness builds resilience. The heart does not collapse when effort feels unseen. It does not withdraw from goodness. It continues because alignment, not reward, is guiding it. The hidden deed teaches the heart that reward is not the purpose of sincerity. Alignment is. Rewards may come or may not. Either way, the deed has already fulfilled its role. When the heart learns to act without reward, it becomes free. It no longer depends on response to remain sincere. It no longer measures its actions by outcome. It moves quietly, steadily, and honestly. This freedom is rare. It cannot be taught through explanation alone. It must be practiced in secrecy, and once learned, it reshapes the heart permanently. Lesson 6: Secrecy reveals whether the heart needs to be seen. When no one is watching, the heart is exposed to itself. There is no audience to lean on, no response to anticipate, and no mirror to confirm identity. In this quiet absence, the heart discovers what truly moves it. This discovery is not intellectual, it is felt. The heart senses whether it still wants to act when visibility is removed, or whether something inside withdraws the moment recognition disappears. Needing to be seen is not always obvious. Often it hides beneath sincerity. A person may believe they are acting purely, yet feel an unspoken emptiness when no one notices. This emptiness is not shameful, it is informative. It shows the heart where it has been relying on acknowledgement to feel real. Secrecy brings this reliance into view without accusation. When a deed remains unseen, the heart cannot outsource its sense of worth. It cannot borrow meaning from reaction or confirmation. It must sit with itself after the action and ask nothing of anyone else. This moment is revealing. The heart learns whether it can remain steady without reinforcement or whether it quietly dissolves without it. Visibility often gives the heart structure. Being seen provides shape, direction, and feedback. When that structure is removed, the heart may feel disoriented. This disorientation is not failure. It is exposure. The heart is encountering itself without support. What appears in this encounter is honest. Secrecy reveals whether the heart acts because alignment called or because acknowledgement completed the act. When acknowledgement is absent, the heart feels the difference immediately. If it becomes restless, dissatisfied, or tempted to reveal what it has done, something has been uncovered, not something to condemn, but something to refine. This revelation is valuable because it allows growth to happen where it actually needs to. Without secrecy, the heart might never notice its dependency on being seen. Visibility hides dependency by feeding it. Secrecy starves it gently, bringing it into awareness. Another important aspect of this lesson is that secrecy reveals patience. A heart that needs to be seen often rushes. It wants its action to land, to be registered, to matter visibly. A heart that does not need to be seen moves at a different pace. It is not urgent. It does not feel unfinished if nothing follows. When the heart does not need to be seen, it becomes less performative. It stops adjusting its behavior for effect. It does not increase intensity to draw attention, nor reduce sincerity to avoid notice. It acts proportionately, guided by necessity rather than impression. Secrecy also exposes the heart's relationship with silence. Silence can feel threatening when the heart expects recognition. It can feel like erasure. But when the heart no longer needs to be seen, silence becomes neutral. It is no longer interpreted as rejection or loss. It is simply space. This change in how silence is experienced is significant. The heart stops filling quiet moments with self-assertion. It does not rush to be known. It rests. This rest reveals confidence that does not depend on presence in others' awareness. Another subtle transformation occurs in humility. When the heart does not need to be seen, humility is no longer an effort. It is a byproduct. The heart does not downplay itself intentionally. It simply does not center itself. This absence of self-centering keeps intention clean. Secrecy also reveals attachment to identity. Visible deeds often contribute to how a person understands themselves. They become part of a narrative. When deeds are hidden, identity has less material to build around. The heart may feel stripped of familiar reference points. This stripping is revealing. It shows how much identity has been tied to action rather than alignment. When identity loosens, the heart becomes more flexible. It is not bound to maintaining an image of itself. It can change, pause, or struggle without feeling threatened. This flexibility allows sincerity to continue even when the heart feels uncertain. Needing to be seen often brings fear. Fear of being overlooked, replaced, or forgotten. Secrecy confronts this fear directly. It asks the heart to act even when invisibility is guaranteed. This is difficult, but it builds courage. Courage here is not boldness. It is the willingness to exist without acknowledgement. This willingness stabilizes the heart. It no longer panics when attention fades. It does not interpret invisibility as insignificance. It understands that presence does not depend on being noticed. This understanding frees energy that was previously spent managing visibility. Another effect of secrecy is that it clarifies motivation. The heart becomes aware of what it is seeking. If it seeks alignment, it will continue. If it seeks recognition, it will hesitate. This clarity allows the heart to adjust honestly rather than pretending purity. Secrecy also teaches the heart to trust unseen placement. The heart learns that what is done does not need to be displayed to matter. This trust deepens reliance on Allah rather than on perception. The heart places its actions where sight is complete, not partial. When the heart no longer needs to be seen, it becomes more consistent. It does not fluctuate based on attention. It does not become more active when noticed or withdraw when ignored. It maintains direction. This consistency strengthens integrity. Another important shift happens in self-respect. The heart respects itself enough not to require validation. This respect is quiet. It does not assert itself. It simply exists. The heart no longer bargains with itself to act. It acts because alignment exists, not because approval might follow. Secrecy also reveals whether the heart is comfortable being unknown. Being unknown is different from being unseen. Being unseen can feel temporary. Being unknown challenges identity. A heart that accepts being unknown has released a deep attachment. It no longer needs to be located in others' awareness to feel real. This acceptance brings peace. The heart is not scanning for signs of recognition. It is not interpreting absence as failure. It remains grounded. When the heart does not need to be seen, it can give fully. It does not hold back to protect itself from invisibility. It does not overextend to force notice. It gives appropriately and releases. This release lightens the inner world. The heart carries less tension. It is not bracing for response. It is not guarding against neglect. It is simply present. Secrecy, then, is not concealment. It is a revelation. It shows the heart what it depends on and what it does not. What it reveals allows refinement to begin where it is actually needed. When the heart no longer needs to be seen, sincerity becomes stable. It does not depend on light. It does not fade in shadow. It remains. Lesson 7. What is done in secret shapes the inner world permanently. Some actions leave marks that disappear quickly. Others never leave the surface at all. But deeds done in secrecy do something different. They do not aim outward, so they settle inward. Instead of shaping how life looks, they shape how the heart becomes. This shaping is slow, quiet, and almost unnoticeable at first, but it is lasting in a way that visible actions rarely are. When a deed is unseen, it does not attach itself to memory through reaction or recognition. The heart does not replay it through conversations, praise, or judgment. Because of this, the deed moves beneath conscious awareness and begins working at a deeper level. It alters orientation rather than emotion. It adjusts direction rather than mood. This is why its effect endures. Visible deeds often change circumstances. Hidden deeds change perception. They alter how the heart understands effort, value, and presence. Over time, the heart begins to move differently without realizing why. Its reactions soften, its urgency decreases, its dependence on outcome weakens. These changes are not traced back to a specific action, because the action was never stored in the mind, it was stored in the inner state. What is done in secret also bypasses the ego's ability to claim authorship. The ego thrives on narrative. It wants to know what it did, how well it did it, and what it earned. A hidden deed gives the ego nothing to work with. No story forms around it. No identity develops from it. This absence prevents the ego from interfering with the heart's growth. Because the ego is not involved, the effect of the deed remains pure. It does not inflate self-image or create subtle entitlement. The heart does not feel elevated by it. It simply becomes steadier. This steadiness is not dramatic. It shows itself in patience, restraint, and quiet clarity rather than confidence or pride. Another lasting effect of secret deeds is that they recalibrate the heart's sense of importance. The heart learns that significance does not require visibility. Over time, it stops chasing moments that look meaningful and begins responding to moments that feel aligned. This recalibration affects decision-making at a deep level. The heart becomes less impressed by appearance and more attentive to necessity. Hidden deeds also create an inner memory that is not conscious. The heart remembers alignment even when the mind forgets the action. This memory expresses itself as intuition. The heart knows when to act and when to remain still without overthinking. This knowing is built slowly through repeated, unseen sincerity. Because these deeds are not remembered consciously, they do not age. Visible deeds can lose their impact over time as memory fades or circumstances change. Hidden deeds remain active because they were never tied to a moment. They were tied to direction. Direction does not expire. What is done in secret also strengthens the heart's relationship with silence. Silence no longer feels empty or wasted. It becomes familiar ground. The heart recognizes silence as a place where real shaping happens. This recognition changes how the heart experiences solitude, waiting, and stillness. They become productive without being busy. Another permanent change is that the heart becomes less reactive to recognition when it does arrive. Praise does not destabilize it. Neglect does not diminish it. Because the heart has already learned to move without response, response no longer defines it. This stability protects sincerity even in visible moments. Hidden deeds also reshape trust. The heart learns that effort does not need to be witnessed to matter. This trust does not rely on future reward or reassurance. It is rooted in placement. The heart trusts where it places its actions rather than what happens afterward. This trust anchors faith deeply. The heart becomes more consistent. It does not need motivation to act rightly. It does not wait for inspiration or emotion. It responds when alignment is present. This consistency is not rigid. It is natural. It arises because the heart has been trained quietly over time. What is done in secret also alters how the heart carries responsibility. Responsibility no longer feels heavy or performative. It feels personal and direct. The heart does not feel watched or evaluated. It acts because it understands its role, not because it is being measured. Another subtle but lasting effect is that the heart becomes more forgiving of itself. Because it is not building a public image, it does not panic over imperfection. It allows itself to learn, adjust, and grow without fear of exposure. This forgiveness keeps the heart open rather than defensive. Hidden deeds also protect the heart from exhaustion. Much exhaustion comes from maintaining appearance, expectation, and response. When deeds are unseen, this maintenance disappears. Energy is conserved. The heart does not burn itself out trying to sustain an image of goodness. It simply continues. The heart shaped by secrecy becomes quieter internally. Thoughts slow, judgments soften. The need to assert diminishes. This quiet is not emptiness. It is clarity without noise. It allows insight to surface without force. What is done in secret also changes how the heart experiences failure. Failure loses its sting because success was never defined publicly. The heart is not protecting a reputation. It can acknowledge mistakes without collapse. This resilience strengthens sincerity over time. Another permanent change is that the heart becomes more precise. It does not act everywhere. It acts where it is needed. Because it is not seeking visibility, it does not scatter effort. This precision deepens impact, even if that impact is never seen. Hidden deeds also shape humility in a lasting way. Not the humility that is displayed, but the humility that is lived. The heart does not think less of itself. It thinks less about itself. This shift is subtle, but it changes everything. The heart begins to prefer this way of acting. It feels cleaner, lighter, more honest. The heart senses that something within it has been stabilized. This stability is not dependent on circumstances. It remains in both ease and difficulty. What is done in secret does not fade. It settles. It becomes part of the heart's structure. Even if the deed is forgotten completely, its effect remains. The heart has been shaped, and shaping is not undone by time. This is why Allah values what is hidden, not because it is unseen, but because it reaches where sight cannot. It does not decorate life. It restructures the inner world. And a heart that has been shaped quietly does not need to announce itself. Its presence is felt through steadiness, restraint, and clarity. What it carries does not fluctuate. What is done in secret stays, not as memory, but as orientation, and orientation determines everything that follows. If something in this reflection felt quiet rather than inspiring, that is its truth. What is most valuable is rarely loud. The heart that acts without witnesses is not shrinking, it is becoming precise. It is learning where to place its effort so that nothing essential is lost to display. Do not rush to reveal what was meant to remain intact. Not every good action needs a story, and not every movement of the heart needs confirmation. What has been placed in secrecy is already complete, already received, already working where change lasts longest. Carry this understanding gently. Let it guide how you act when no one is watching, how you choose when nothing is noticed, and how you remain steady without response. What is hidden is not absent. It is anchored, and what is anchored will not be shaken.